we have got a Komatsu 51PX. It is the MC square system. Needs to be disassembled, so we'll remove the pole, remove the hood mount cables, the cables that go under through the hood and back to the MCR3 that should be in the cab or in the side. We'll remove the sensor. This machine is going back to the manufacturer, I believe, or seller. Yeah, good. Okay, all the cables and everything are up inside. Box is up inside. Should be. Yep, there it is. It's a disassembly, and the old GX60. So we'll have to take that display cable. Oh, it runs along the side, nice and easy. Just pops down there. So we'll have to lift the floor up. And there's the MCR3 box, and it goes down through an access hole to the side and pull the cables out through. So the first thing we need to do is remove the floor. This will allow us to gain access to this cable, those two cables. Yeah, we'll see if we can see them in here. Should be running along. Where did they run them? They must have ran them down the other side. When I install these, I run them down this way. There's a nice little access point back there, but obviously somebody went on the other side. Alright, yeah, during any installation or removal, take the floor out. Everything's going to be in that floor. As far as the B cable running off the MCR3 connected to the sensor cable. Alright, there we go. Floor's easy, just a couple foot pads. Of course, those are torqued down there. Now, a smart thing to do here is keep these bolts in these holes. A lot of times it's going to be filthy, dirty, and once you get dirt down in those holes, sometimes they don't drill all the way through. There's just enough for the bolt to go in. So you have to spend your time digging out that hole. This prevents that extra little headache that you don't need. You just save the washers. These are both the same, so pop the floor out. They're usually always a different size, just like Caterpillar. Why they can't be consistent and use the same size, I don't know. Strange. Oh, that should be it. It's close. It's tough doing this one-handed. There we go. There we go. Jeez, yeah, they torqued these on there. Now, once you get all the bolts out, just lift the floor out. This is pretty much the same process for installation. The floor comes out first. That's where everything ties into. There we go. I like to put these down and out of the way because they'll fall down into the belly pan of the beast and disappear. So we got our display cable that needs to come out, so a couple little Allen bolts here, knock that little cover off, unzip tie all this, and this just goes back to the B cable. And we can undo these if we want to at this point. gonna need tools. Alright. Just grab a pair of snippers and start snipping these zip ties, which there's gonna be plenty of them. Once you get your zip ties unsnipped, there's gonna be more. Always. You can start unhooking things. Just disconnect these cables. One is for the sensor. Oh, sorry. Alright. Now, should be one more. Yep, there's a little one. That you can. Alright. So you pretty much only need snippers, little pliers, and some Allen keys. There's going to be dirt inside all these things. Yeah, with an MC square system, it's pretty simple. There's not much of a dashboard to go up into, so that's why this display cable comes on the outside. It's just a couple bolts here and there, covers. We start in the center because that's where everything ties into, from that side in and from that side in. So once you get the center disconnected, everything pretty much pulls out each end. There's the display cable. There's the display. I don't know if they want the mount removed. We will remove the mount just in case. I would want the mount removed, that way they could put it on something else. There's the GX60. It's a dated display. Man, did they torque stuff down. Good grief. Alright, one of the important things to do here, you don't need to disassemble that, but you do need to disassemble a couple of these plugs. The display cable you do not. That will just pull through. So, it's going to knock all my tools. Skew. Right under there. Alright, so what cables go to the front of the machine? This one. Yeah, be prepared, because people love using 50,000 zip ties, and they put them in places that are ridiculous to reach, which is not ideal for service repairs. You want to keep your stuff very accessible when dealing with service. Alright, so we'll disassemble. Man, look at how they got these things all wrapped up in here too. Good Lord. Alright, so here's the cable. Man, yeah, they did not wrap those up very well. So you'll have to disassemble this, and the best thing to do, clean off the wires and just take a photo of each side of this connector. That way you know exactly how it goes back together. If you don't have the wiring schematic, sometimes it's just faster to not have to deal with the wiring schematic. You can just take a photo of it the way it sits, like that. That way you can put it right back together just as fast without having to resort to a wiring schematic. So to disassemble, pull that plastic out. Needle nose pliers, it just pulls straight out. Like so. Don't lose that. You're gonna need it. And then to knock these out, all you need is a little flathead. And you're just going inside. You need two hands for this. So you're just going inside, and there's a little tab right on the front side of each wire. Push the tab to the inside, pull on the wire, and the wires come out. And that's it. You can see the little tabs down there at the bottom. They just pull to the inside. Now is a very good time to inspect these pins and make sure they're not loose on the wire. Sometimes they loosen up and pull off. They're just crimped on, because if you're going to reuse this system, yeah, you want those wires to be good, because you're going to have to put those back in. So keep those to the side, don't lose it. Now this whole cable is ready to be pulled through the machine. We'll lay that out here. And there is one more, and it looks like it is going straight back, and it's going to be connected through that side wall there. This one goes to the front, or to the back. We don't need to pull anything off that. That one goes to the back. That's it. That's the only thing you have to do, except for this one here. We have to go locate it, disconnect it, and pull the cables out as well. Once you get the floor up and the wire ties cut off and whatever wires go in front, wires pulled out of the connectors, now is a good time to just fold the seat back, come back here, start cutting the 1,000 zip ties, and hold all this in place. What in the world was that? Interesting. It's been mounted somewhere. This really doesn't have an access seal on it. Oh, it does. It's on the other side they mounted it. Usually it's mounted here. Looks like they mounted it from the outside, or inside, yeah, the outside. And then just loosen up whatever wires you got up here. This is your GPS. That's your radio antenna, your A and B cable, and you just need a couple Allen wrenches, two different sizes, and we'll take that mount off as well. And once you got your MCR3 unmounted, all you need to do is expose this center nut right there. This is the A cable, controls your power, your interface to the machine, and the B cable on the other side controls your sensors and GPS. All you do is unscrew these and they come out. Again, perfect opportunity to check the pinholes, make sure nothing's melted or burnt out. Check each wire, actually physically pull on each wire and make sure it's not loose and there's no damage. These things get they get things thrown on them and everything else from the operators. So just go through and inspect each wire, inspect the pins. That's the MCR3. Once you're done doing that, pull the mount off. 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts. Allen. should be the same size. Yep. Alright. And that's it. Mount is removed. Save the screws. And next, all you need to do is knock these bolts off for that access seal, knock that rubber out, pull the wires through. We'll do that next. These access seals have a bolt and a nut, and you know, if you're doing this by yourself, you cannot be in two places at once, and your arm's not going to be able to reach around. So just get a small needle nose pair of pliers, lock onto one, go out, hit the other end, loosen it up until it falls off, and boom, you got it. Alright, so 99% of the time when you're dealing with an access seal like that, you're going to have a bundle of wires right here, and here's where you can take the access seal off, and it looks like it goes up into the reverse relay. So again, zip tie, zip tie, zip tie, knock off all the zip ties, get that access seal off, and then you'll be able to pull these wires through. Once they're through, they all just go right down that little cubby hole down that way into the floor pan, and you can just start pulling things through at that point. Don't forget to take the fuse out, just in case. Yeah, chances of actually causing any kind of spark or short is low, just because the system is not on. These are all the wires that need to come out. We can pull that relay off, and we can disconnect that access point there. This is the ground, and it looks like the positive, yeah, has a fuse link on it. It's going up to, this is a fuse box. Yeah, just going to the, looks like it's the starter relay. Alright, so on the access seal, there's actually 4 bolts that hold these rubber, well, they're metal sleeves. And then on the inside, that one's been on there a while. Just a chunk of rubber. Oh man, I hope they didn't glue that in there. Wouldn't surprise me. Alright, so you got these 2 bolts to contend with that have nuts on the other side. So I got my needle nose on the top one, so we're gonna loosen up that top one. Alright, got the top one off, and I heard my needle nose fall to the floor, so we'll have to go in there and lock them onto the bottom. Ta-da! There we go. And just lock them onto the bottom. Okay. Rinse and repeat. Knock the bottom out, and that whole access will come out. Alright, got the bottom nut out and recovered my needle nose. Now you can just start pulling this stuff through. Be very gentle. You get the GPS cable through first and the radio through. That'll give you some room to get the A and B cables out. That's it right there. Now in order to get this off, oh, yeah, that looked like they used silicone on that. That's interesting. We have to get to the other end of the cables in order to pull that access seal off. But it looks like we have a radio. Radio's going up, so we'll have to follow that up, and we have a ground right here that we can take off. We got our relay off, and we just need to pull the positive lead off. And this access seal has rubber inserts. You can just pull those out. If they don't come out easily, you will have to use a tool, which I just use a big screwdriver. So we got that. I need to pull my radio through, because I'm going to have to pull that up and out. Save all the parts and pieces. We can take this off now. You just pull these right through and off. Alright, so radio antenna cable usually just goes through this small foam and up through that side case on top, which you'll usually find a little spot exposed right there like that. And you can start pulling it through. There we go. Now the only thing we need to do is take this side frame off and maybe pop that off, because it's going to drop down through. And I get the radio antenna out. Looks like we're going to have to remove this hand grab. Oh, good grief. I call that overkill, going through that much trouble to run a cable. And they probably zip tied it in there, no doubt. Let's find out. Oh yeah. Now, when you pull on that and it doesn't move, it's zip tied all in there. Does that make any sense? No, it does not. And what I have learned through the many installs that I have done is something as simple as a radio antenna, and these go bad pretty fast, because again, they're inside the cab, they're exposed, and you usually have to replace this more often than other components, that and the GPS cable that sits on the front of the blade. So when you do install them, be wise and install them so it doesn't have a whole bunch of downtime where you have to take 300 things apart just to replace one cable. And all these zip ties, 1, 2, 3, 4, totally unnecessary. Totally unnecessary. That cable's not going to bounce around and move around in there that much to cause rub and wear, and it's just not going to happen. So just makes a service call that much more downtime. Install things so they're simple to replace. That's the key. Alright, so once we get that exposed, we can just pull it right through the top. See if I can reach it. Oh. Oh yeah, here's the other thing too. Oh my goodness. Let's see what they did. They put a P-clamp on it. You don't think that zip tie down there was holding it in place enough? I mean, where's it gonna go? Alright, so there's more downtime. You don't need that. It's overkill. And once you remove the 3,000 zip ties and P-clamps that people believe needs to secure this cable down, just pull it up on through. Yeah, we're stuck. There we go. And there you go. And look at that. I mean, that's no good. That needed to be replaced a while ago. So they got a mag mount that's probably going to be replaced anyways. And now you have to put all that back together. Call me weird, but whenever I mess around with battery terminal cables, I wear my thick gloves. Yeah. I mean, have you ever taken off a positive off of something that's charged from batteries? Yeah, it sparks and all that. When you're sweating this much and you're soaked, you can feel it all through your skin. Yeah. So, I just don't like that. I don't like that extra, you know, little sizzle. So, alright, so we got probably 50,000 zip ties down there. Still. And we can start trying to pull some of this stuff through and see what happens. Yeah, there's one. There's another. There's one. Alright. Now, there are going to be a couple, most likely, attached in there. Oh, Komatsu. You actually got to climb up the machine all the way up to the top to release the door. Thought there was something connected in here. Let's see. Yeah. We got that one. And it looks like it's tied right into the hydraulics, so. Okay. There is zip tie after zip tie after zip tie. Go. Looks like 3 cables. Alright, so we need to knock off some zip ties. Alright, yeah, so we have 3 cables. One going to the valves. One is CAN input. The other one is smart knob. So, yeah. I missed a zip tie. Alright. There we go. It just goes right back where it originally came from. Right there. That's one. We'll save that smart knob for later. It's got a little nut on the back side. Some of these components you're just not going to reuse when you relocate a system. Here's your auto's on-off switch. That can actually just stay there. The wire can just stay there. Your wires going to your solenoids can just stay there. Not going to reuse that on newer systems. Just not going to need them because everything is CAN input nowadays. So unless you're putting the system on an older machine like this, you're not going to need all that. So you just coil it back up and you just stick it in there. Leave it. That's it with that. We don't need to take the valve with us. We don't need to take the valve bracket. We don't need to disassemble the hoses. These have all been teed off into our TOPCON valve body. Just don't need to take any of that. System's still going to work without it. Not, you know, if you were to put a different system on here, you know, you could leave it as well. It's just, but it's an older system, so there's no CAN input. You just have to put the same system back in. So we'll just leave all that right now. We don't need to take any of the hydraulics apart. Sell it to the next buyer. He can have an option of buying the cables and hooking up a GPS system on it. So we have made our way out to the front. You see this cable's probably going bad. You got your sensor cable that comes up and your GPS cable that comes up to the junction box. Underneath that is a hole in the hood that goes down, and the reason I don't put them on this side is because usually you have to unbolt all this stuff, whereas this side would have been so much easier. It's got a door. You just open it up and you can access all your cables. So why they installed it that way, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't install it, so I don't know. I'm not sure what runs through people's minds. Again, when you have to replace a cable, and cables go bad, they go bad all over the machine, inside the machine, outside the machine. You want to make things as accessible as possible. This is downtime that you do not need to go through in order to get to one cable to replace it. Okay, so be smart when you install your systems. And if somebody's coming out to install your system, make sure they're being smart as well. Again, here we go with 3,000 zip ties that hopefully you can reach to get off. Just because you can reach it to put a zip tie on doesn't mean it's a good idea to put that zip tie there. It's all about limiting the amount of downtime you have for repairs. And remember, everything needs repairs. I don't care what you put together, install, and I mean, they all eventually will need repair. So keep it simple. You see that zip tie there and that zip tie there? Do you think you can get pliers in on that very easily? People just not thinking about that stuff. You know what I mean? They think about having it secure and pretty, maybe nice and tucked away, but they don't think about having to come back, which they're gonna have to do eventually. Yeah, see, that one right there is gonna be a pain in the butt. I'm gonna have to put two hands on it. And you see this goes right up to that junction box right there. You see these rub marks on the cable like that right there? Even zip tying them down as much as they do isn't gonna prevent that. Matter of fact, the tighter you have it to an object, you can't secure it in every spot. There's going to be something that vibrates. So if you can put the cable in someplace loose where it's not going to vibrate on something, where it vibrates on its own, right in its own little spot without touching something, that'll be ideal. You can start pulling these through. Yeah. That's the GPS cable. Once everything is on the ground, I'm going to just re-inspect everything before I zip tie it up, because you know things get dirty, and when you're taking them apart, you know, things could get damaged as well. So inspect as you go and inspect afterwards. So now all we have to do is get this apart. There's bolts that run up. Should be 3 of them. Yep, 2 in the front, 1 in the back, underneath, and we'll remove the hood assembly there. Now the pole, all I gotta do is loosen that up. The pole will lift straight off. I'm not sure if they want that mount removed. We'll have to find out. They had a damaged antenna cable and a damaged antenna. So I'm sure the GPS wasn't working on that one. And that's the entire system for an MC square. All the cables, A and B, you got your GPS cable, your sensor cable, all the automatics, the hydraulics, MCR3, your GX60 box, mounts, pole mounts, all that stuff. Now, just put it back together. Oh, forgot to put that over there. They can sell this kit the way it sits. They just have a couple things that have damage that just need to be fixed. But other than that, a cable and an antenna, it should be ready to go. Now we just need to throw the floor back in and tidy up, and that's it. All done. That's it. One GPS system removed from Komatsu 51PX. It's a good idea to just jot down your serial numbers for your expensive components, the ones that have the serial numbers. That way, if one of them walks off, gets sold, gets put on another system, and somebody comes out and services it, they're going to record that serial number, and all you got to do is inquire to the right people, and they will find that serial number being used someplace else, and sure enough, that'll be your property. So it's expensive stuff. I don't have to tell you that.